Now, NCB versus Bollywood is a story that is unfolding in different ways, and that has been the story throughout this year and last year as well. But we're not going to get into what happened to Aryan Khan. Did he have drugs on him? Did he not have drugs on him? We thought on FYI we'll decode for you what exactly is India's drug policy. What does India's law say on possession, selling, purchase, distribution, etc. of drugs? On different drugs, what really applies? Just to understand, are we up to date? Is the Indian law up to speed with how the story of drugs and contraband is evolving? So that's going to be our focus on the program today. Let's first, as always, get into our explainer. Let's start with the basics. What does Indian law really say on drugs? Now, acts punishable under Section 20 of the Narcotics, Drug and the Pronarcotic Substances Act 1985, they go on to say that sale, purchase, possession, transportation, interstate import-export or any other commercial activity of cannabis is punishable. What is this punishment? Let's take a look at that. Punishment for possession specifically, since that seems to be the big concern as of this moment. Punishment for holding small quantity of drugs. And what exactly is small quantity, big quantity, I'll also tell you in the next graphic. But first, for small quantity, prescribed punishment is imprisonment up to 6 months only, fine up to 10,000, or they could fine you and send you in for 6 months behind bars. Both can be done. Punishment for holding more than small quantity but less than the commercial quantity of drugs. Now, this prescribed punishment is imprisonment up to 10 years, fine of 1 lakh, or both can be done as well. Punishment for holding commercial quantity, that is up to 10 to 20 years behind bars, 1 to 2 lakh, or both can be seen. But as you take note of that, remember we talk about quantity is very important. That tells you whether you are the end user, you are the supplier, you are part of the cartel, what it is, and thus the law is different for all the three categories. The small and commercial quantity, really what exactly is that? 1 kg cannabis is considered to be small quantity, 20 kg or more is said to be commercial quantity. Now, I'm saying cannabis in particular right now because every other drug has a different kind of punishment on it, or the categorization of small and more is different. Charas or hash, as they say, 100 grams is supposed to be small quantity, 1 kg or more is said to be commercial quantity. 2 grams of cocaine is said to be small quantity, 100 grams or more is said to be commercial quantity. 25 grams of opium is said to be small, 2.5 kg said to be commercial. 5 grams of heroin is said to be small, 250 grams more or commercial quantity. 1 kg of ganja small quantity, 20 or more commercial is quantity. 0.5 grams of MDMA small quantity, 10 grams or more is commercial quantity. So once these categories come into place, punishment under the Indian law is different. But can someone who has been caught with small quantity of drug get immunity from prosecution? The answer is mostly yes, if you fall under the small quantity. Now, any addict who is charged with offences involving small quantity of under the NDPS, who is voluntarily seeking to undergo medical treatment or de-addiction also from a hospital or an institute maintained or recognized by the government, will be let go. And also, if they agree to undergo any such treatment, they shall not be liable. Here again, they shall not be liable to prosecution under any other section for offences involving small quantity of narcotics, drugs, or any other substance for that matter, right? Let's move on to the next graphic as we talk about that. And this is what exactly happened then. Now, while a lot of attention is going to celebrities being found with consumption quantity of very, very small quantity of drugs, the big haul, right? India's biggest drug haul, was that ignored? We on NDTV at least spoke constantly about 3,000 kgs of heroin being seized at the Adani Mudra port in Gujarat. This was said to be of estimated worth of over 20,000 crore. This was reportedly the single largest seizure that had happened till date, and drugs were part of a shipment that was supposedly talcum powder from Afghanistan that arrived to India. Now that is a really big quantity. That kind of seizure can lead you to cartels. That kind of seizure can open up, when investigation done properly, will open up big names really, and that is how you can even stop the usage of actually supply chain as well. But while we still wait to hear what happened on that story, a lot of other celebrity drug abuse is obviously coming under attention. We also then in our research looked at what kind of drug cases were actually registered in India in 2020. Pandemic year, remember. Even in this year, under the NDPS Act, 59,806 cases were registered. 44% for possession of drugs for trafficking and 56% for personal consumption. Again, what do you see here? 56% of the raids that were carrying out, etc., were just for personal use, small quantities, and 44, much lesser percentage, for possession of drugs for trafficking, that is large quantity. Again, a mismatch over there. And why are we calling it a mismatch? Because research tells you that countries which decriminalized public and private use of drugs of any sort really ended up getting a larger part of their population de-addicted. Should be the opposite, right? But look at the example of Portugal. A lot of experts talk about what happened in Portugal. Portugal decriminalized acquisition or any possession of all drugs, and this was in 2000. It became the first country in the world to decriminalize the consumption of all drugs, adopting an approach focused on public health rather than public order priorities. This meant that the percentage of people in prison in Portugal for drug law violations had decreased dramatically from 44% in 1999 to 24% in 2013. Under the law, now drug dealers still go to prison. That is, your cartels, your dealers, your big scams that are running around, they still go to prison, but anyone caught with less than 10-day supply, like we have small quantity, big quantity in India, they categorize it as less than 10-day supply of any drug, including marijuana as well, heroin as well, is typically sent to a local commission consisting of a doctor, a lawyer, and a social worker, like our de-addiction centers. There is no distinction made between hard and soft drugs or whether consumption happens in private or public places. And that is what really put Portugal as a case study on the world map, where they said that because of these new laws, we were able to fight the menace much better. India, on the other hand, the NDPS Act says it is illegal for any person to produce, manufacture, cultivate, possess, sell, purchase, transport, like we said in the first graphic as well, and consume any narcotic drug that is, or any contraband, and prohibition makes illegal drugs stronger and more potent. Now, this was a study that was done as well. So lots to think about from the pointers, from what we are gathering from statistics emerging from India, and how perhaps other countries have fought this drug menace.